Okay. All right, it is 4 o'clock on my end, and it looks like I'm all set up. I can't see a chat box on my end because I'm just sharing my screen right now. So I guess at the end I can answer questions. Yeah, I'm just gonna get started. So this presentation is about your, of course you're gonna see my notifications. This presentation is about 5 must-haves for your e-commerce platform. My name is Jenny, and I am one of the co-owners of the Girl Gang Canada. This is me here on the right, and this is my business partner, Katie, on the left. We didn't know if we could do like a dual presentation today, so I'm the only one here. And that's also because I run the marketing operations for the Girl Gang Canada. I have another company called Social Wellness Company. And yeah, so a bit about the Girl Gang Canada. We are an online collective, a marketplace for small Canadian women-owned businesses. Over the last year, we have grown from just a handful of members to a group of almost 100 small businesses, and these businesses range from East Coast to West Coast. So we're primarily in Ontario, but we do have members like from out east, from out west, from the middle. Like we're just kind of all over the place, and that is one of our biggest goals, is making sure that we represent all of Canada and all of what Canada has to offer. So what we're about, primarily about women, supporting women in business, but we also do events, a lot of pop-ups, which right now, obviously with COVID and being in Ontario, we haven't had much access to that, but we really promote this shop local, support local, or shop Canadian businesses and keep it within the Canadian economy. And because of that, we want to disrupt the way people shop. We want to talk a little bit about how big businesses kind of run everything, and realistically, the Canadian economy is made up of small businesses. So we talk about that a lot, and we talk about how you can support small businesses and you can support more locally. And even if, you know, the small businesses cost a little bit more and aren't as efficient, I guess, the ways that you can go about supporting a small vendor or a small service member. So that's kind of what we are in a nutshell. Just a little bit of context about the Girl Gang Canada's online platform. We started in a shop here. We're actually from a small town called Sarnia, Ontario, and the Girl Gang Canada was launched about 3 years ago, and it started as a small shop. Right before COVID hit, I came into the picture, and we made the strategic decision to shift online, not even knowing to change the way that we navigate the online world, but it was just one of the things that we wanted to do. We wanted to go from a small local business to a nationwide business that supported just a ton of small businesses across Canada. So I'm going to be providing tips today based off of some of the biggest things we learned about navigating the e-commerce and the digital space. My background is in digital marketing and in content management, but I have against e-commerce. These are just 5 of the biggest things, like my biggest takeaways over the past year, the biggest things that we learned. And I want to talk to you about some of the mistakes we made, because if any of you have tuned into this presentation and you currently are thinking about either going online, creating an online e-commerce store, you currently have one, and the traffic and the purchases are limited, and you're looking to grow and expand, and you're looking to generate more revenue. I always love learning from other people's mistakes because then it helps me not make the same thing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and hopefully you guys can learn from some of the, oopsies that we had along the way. So this is kind of this is the agenda for the next, 25 minutes. The first things first is like, there are some must-haves that you must have before, those top 5 things that I'm going to outline today. And I'm just going to quickly talk about what those are. They're pretty clear. You'll see as I discuss them, but I still think that they are relevant. We're going to be discussing your mission statement and the hero image, which is the main image on your website banner, like that main banner. We're going to be talking about brand visuals, your categories and tags and product descriptions. We're going to be talking a little bit about email marketing and the tool that we use, your story and blog content, and then some retention tactics and how to keep your customers in your store, or on your store, not in, because they're not technically in a store, but keeping them online. So this quote came to me one day as I was doing what I do, and I really like it. Don't assume it all works. Put yourself in your customer's shoes and do everything they will do. And the reason why I like this so much, not only because my background's in content marketing, and with content, when you're building content, whether it's your social, your online, whatever that might look like, you have to think about the way your customer is navigating the content, not just what you think looks pretty or you think is going to connect. You really have to step into your customer's shoes and experience it as an unbiased, and experience it as you are that customer. And the more that you can do that, the more successful your online store is going to be. So I just wanted to throw that quote out there. And this is what our website looks like. So before we get started on those top 5 things, top 5 must-haves for your e-commerce platform, these are 4 things that are also must-haves, and they're like non-negotiables. You pretty much can't start an e-commerce platform without these 4 things. The first one is a checkout and a multi-payment system. If you're just using PayPal, you might be limiting what you can do in terms of collecting payments, especially if you want to take your brand from not like the few customers that you might have to maybe if you're like us and you're trying to grow a national brand, you're going to want to be able to offer every single sort of payment. And this also goes for like if you're like, we're just in Canada, but many of these e-commerce based platforms go North America. So you're going to be able to want to accept, like Apple Pay or the payment systems, American Express, the payment systems that Americans use if you want to tap into that market. The other thing is a home bar and category dropdown, which seems kind of straightforward, but like when you get into the thick of building your website, these things kind of slip under the radar, and we don't think about how important the simplicity of navigation is. And some things can go missing, like maybe your drop-down menu doesn't have all of the categories it needs, or maybe the categories, maybe you have too many or too little. So like just making sure that your drop-down menu is, it aligns with like what your customers are trying to experience. Then product pages. So say you're a jewelry company and you have rings and necklaces and all of these things. You want to make sure that you have a page specifically designed for each of those. And that means like it's good for Google to also understand your website if you have separate out product pages. And then with that is the detailed product descriptions. If I have a little bit more time, I'll go into that, because detailed product descriptions, if you do them properly, they'll be great for SEO, and that ends up meaning that Google can recognize that you have a high quality page, and then they pump you up to like higher ranking status. All right, so first thing here is the hero image and mission statement. This is the first thing that your customers are going to see when they hit your website. And it answers the question, why are they there? When I land on a website, the first line of text should give me a reason to stay. And it also should tap into solving problems and really tap into the mind of the consumer as to why are they here, why you want them to stay, what problems you're solving, and how your website is going to make an impact for them. The mission statement's usually just a handful of words, whether it's your tagline or what you have in your Instagram bio. Sometimes people put that. Yeah, and again, attaches to emotions. So here are two examples of websites with, I'm a bit biased because this is ours, but I also added fair. I don't know if any of you guys are stockists and you have an online platform where you have multiple products that are wholesale and outsourced from different retailers. Fair is a really, really, really great channel. We use it sometimes for stocking our store. But it's essentially what those exact words are right there, your one-stop shop for wholesale. And as you know, some of you might already know that if you're looking for wholesale products, going from brand to brand to brand and finding those things to meet your needs can be time consuming. It can be, confusing. It's a lot of effort to have to manage your partnerships with people. So Fair solves that problem. And it says that on that main mission statement, that hero image, and that first line. And then this is ours. And I just put it there, not to brag or anything, but I just really love this particular mission statement and how we ended up attaching it to what's happening right now with COVID. Because our entire platform is based off of this idea of keeping it within the local economy or the Canadian economy and helping to build small businesses. So the fact that every time you make a purchase from the Girl Gang Canada, you're supporting a small business, and that has power behind it. So we just really wanted to emphasize that on our main statement. And the fact that the time to shop small and local is now. We all know that these billionaires or multi-billionaires have capitalized on everything. So we're just basically saying let's bring this back down to supporting, Canadian-made businesses. So the number 2 is strong brand visuals. And this was important for me to add because a lot of the small businesses that come our way are missing product photography, and more specifically on their website. So when we do marketing with them and we do promotions, because that's one of the elements of the Girl Gang Canada, is we work one-on-one with our vendors to try and help them grow their brand. When we do that, if they are missing this element, this is the first thing we focus on. Outside of their own branding, we actually don't have an in-house branding team, but the visual statements that they're making are so important, especially with social media nowadays. And the fact that consumers attach themselves to a piece of content within 1 second. So if your brand and your products are not represented visually in an appealing way, people will drop off and they won't buy. So it's really important to make sure that those visuals are there. So a couple things that, you should ask yourself is, are you ready to invest in your product photography? And that should always be a yes, unless you have experience in that world. Does your photography tell a story? Again, back to like the first thing that customers see when they hit your page is it should be a story, right? So that main photo should be attached to that tagline, and it should just make an impact in a visually stunning way. Mood is a really good thing to think about, and that goes back to attaching to your brand, whatever that mood storyboard is, and whatever the branding expert that you're working with has like outlined for you, that should be there. In our case, like, we're a little bit edgy, we're a little bit bold, we have a lot of members that have tattoos, we just want to kind of represent that, like, I mean, in that top left photo, we look like a gang, but it's not to that extreme, but we just want to say that, like, we're real women and like this is us, and we're not perfect, and kind of put that little edge to our photos. So that's, you can see that with the graffiti and stuff. But and then in the photography, highlighting key features of your products, whatever that might look like, and then are you present on your website? So that's another one, is the story that you're telling behind the brand. So when it comes to creating strong brand visuals, you might want to be attached to that. You might want to get some nice headshots done, or even we had a member who makes soaps, and she got these really nice photos done of her in her kitchen making the soaps. And that's just a really amazing story to tell with photography. So I just added these tips for finding a photographer. It's not always easy. One thing to note is that sometimes portrait photographers aren't always the answer to your product photography. So the questions to ask are, do they have product photography experience? What's their style? Do they have directing experience? Because this is another one. If you're looking for a cheaper photographer, they might just be getting started, and they might not have that conceptual mindset behind developing a brand story through photography. They might be great at taking photos, but can they direct it? Do they understand branding? Do they ask questions? And are you getting a contract for proprietary information? Just something to think about. Number 3 is how your customer will navigate your website. So kind of going back to like the categories and tags, making them easy to understand. You want to think about whether or not your customers are navigating your store on mobile versus desktop. So ours, a whopping like 80% of people are experiencing the Girl Gang store on their phones. So we need to make sure that the mobile experience is top notch, and both of the experience is really good, but most of the people are navigating on the phone. So if they pull up Girl Gang and it's slow and they can't easily navigate the categories, and it's hard to understand, the product photos don't look nice, it's going to be a drop off. And this will help with people who keep returning to your store. You want it to be a great experience so they come back. Having a search bar is really important, so that when people are looking for specific products, whether I keep going back to jewelry, I'm not too sure why, but if they're on a jewelry store and they're looking for earrings, they can type that into the search bar. And on the back end of your website, that needs to be documented as well. So every time you set up a product, whether you're using Shopify or WooCommerce, you're setting up a product that has been tagged earrings or tagged necklace, so that when they go into the search bar, they're going to be able to search for that product and it's going to pop up. And then again, homepage design, super important. The biggest thing I could recommend for the homepage design is getting into your consumer's mind and maybe doing a survey. So like just putting it out to, 25 people and saying, hey, look, I just launched my website. I'd love to get your feedback. Be anonymous with it so that you can be as critical as possible, because I want honest feedback. And then they can give their experience on your website. There's also websites out there that they have like just regular people experiencing your website for the first time. I wish I had that information handy. I don't, but if you Google it and you really want somebody from an unbiased standpoint to navigate your website, and give you feedback, just Google search that because those are out there. Okay, so number 4 is an email collection tool and an email marketing tool. And I say email collection, email marketing tool because I have a lot of people who say, oh, I'll just use my Squarespace email, and don't. And the reason for this is because email marketing systems are designed specifically for sales. They're designed for conversions. They're designed so you can segment, you can learn about your audience, you can track behavioral patterns. And using your Squarespace email collection tool, I've never done it before, but I just suspect that those aren't set up for that. So we use something called Klaviyo. It's an amazing, amazing system. It was designed for e-commerce. It's super intuitive. It's super clean and easy to navigate. And the tutorials are amazing. They're very in-depth. They give videos on how-tos. It's just a really, really, really great tool. And not having an email marketing system, not starting to generate an email list, means you're leaving money on the table. Even if you have 100 email subscribers, you can talk to those people in a direct format. And it's not just like you're throwing, information into the wind on Instagram and hoping people see your content. It's like, no, you're directly hitting their inbox. And if you can do it properly and you can really think about those subject lines and the content you're putting in your email, they're going to open that email. And email marketing is not dead. So email marketing allows you to nurture your audience, collect audience data, send them discounts, deals, and updates. And with Klaviyo specifically, you can build something called flows and segments. They are amazing for us specifically. As an example, we have different product categories. So we have apparel, we have jewelry, we have service members, we have beauty, we have eco-friendly. We can segment email lists based off of those user habits and send information directly to those lists with deals that are associated with those specific categories, which is really great because if you ask your audience the question of, hey, what are you interested in? And then you only send them content based off of their interests, your engagement is going to skyrocket. So that's why that is important. So here are some email marketing tips. Like I said, Klaviyo is the best. And it's just popping up everywhere. And I'm sure you'll find in the near future that you're going to hear that a lot. Have a pop-up on your homepage. Ours is instant. It's a 20% off code. We generate a lot from this. Actually, as a matter of fact, I just checked out our analytics, and in the past 30 days, we have sold $2,000 from one email based off of this homepage pop-up. So that's pretty awesome. Have multiple lead forms on your website. So when I say that, it could be related to anything. We have a 20% code. We might have a quiz. We might have, we did tutorials and training. So these are all lead forms, and then they collect that customer email data into those specific lists. And the incentive, again, we have a 20% discount code, so you can just do whatever makes sense for you. Don't only send product promotion emails, send stories, send things that are happening, send your thoughts and opinions, talk to your audience. Don't just make it about direct sales because people do see through that. And then your email subject lines matter. They are super important. They are the first thing your customers are going to see, and they're what your customers are going to decide whether or not they open that email. So they have to make an impact. And the last one is your brand story and blog content. So these are some questions that you can ask yourself when developing your e-commerce platform. You really want to talk to that story. What makes you unique? Because we all have a story. Why do we get started? Katie and I got started, or Katie actually got started. I came into the picture about a year after she started because she had a really bad experience with a stockist. They ended up stealing a ton of her money. She band together with a group of other women, and And they started the Girl Gang Collective because none of them wanted to go through that experience again. They wanted a place with transparency and trust, and Katie wanted to build that for people. So that's why she got started. And it's a horrible thing that she went through, but she went through challenge and came out with something amazing. And there's adversity there, and showcasing this story is important. So, and people want to hear these things, right? People want to feel like they're connected to a real person. So what is your brand story? How did you get started? How did it come to be? Why is what you do so important to you? This should be prominent on your website, whether it's, a little blurb about, hey, this is me, this is what I do, this is why I love it. Click to see my about page, and then you can, it keeps people on the page. It decreases your bounce rate, and people just stick around and learn more about you. And it's also a nurturing tactic. And then last, blogs just help to reinforce. They help to elaborate on specific stories and ideas. You can embed lead magnet forms into your blog, etc. So I recommend blog, but I come from the blogging background, but I do love a bit of blog. So don't forget, easy to access social media icons are important, and they act as an extension of your website. You want people to follow your socials, so make sure that they're visible. Think about your website as your customer experiences it. Set up your products on Facebook, Pinterest, and or Google Merchant. These are also important so that people can experience your products and buy them from different channels. Keep optimizing. If you feel like something's not working for you, keep at it, change it, chop it, work it, rework the story, rework the buttons, your call to actions, make sure that they are, in different spots. You're testing where they are, test your pop-ups, just test everything. Product reviews are great. And if you use Shopify, there's a couple apps that you can add that actually give discount to your customers if they provide a photo of the product, which is kind of cool. We have ours set up. It's a 15% discount if you provide a photo. Yeah, so it's really easy. They just upload the photo, and then they instantly get a 15% off code. And then look at your Google Analytics regularly. If you don't have your Google Analytics set up, I recommend Googling how to do it and get it set up, just so you can see when people are coming on your website, what time of the day, where they're coming from, how much traffic, is your traffic growing? Is it stagnant? Where the traffic is coming from? Is it coming from socials? Are you getting referrals from other sources? Like, Google is great because it tells you so much data, and looking at data is so important with e-commerce. Some other things to think about. I only have a couple minutes here, so I'm gonna go through these really quickly, but if there are some questions, hopefully I have some time to answer questions after. So other things to think about when you're feeling comfortable and confident. You don't need to do these now if you're just getting started with e-commerce, because some of these are a little bit more marketing, a little bit more higher level marketing strategies. So retention tactics are great. These are awesome from your email marketing system. Klaviyo has a ton of different opportunities for making sure that your customers, the retention's there. And I mentioned bounce rate. Bounce rate is the amount of time that it takes somebody to get on and off your page. And the higher the bounce rate, the less time they're spending on your page. So you want a low bounce rate. You want to keep them there. You want them to be hanging out and learning. So retention tactics will help to ensure that your audience or customers are sticking around on your website, which is super important. One of those retention tactics is abandoned cart, abandoned checkout. And this is simply set up in your email marketing tool. For Klaviyo, it's already pretty much done for you. You just have to go in and play around with it. And it's an email that is received by the potential customer after they decide that they're playing with things, they add to cart or get to checkout, and then they're they get distracted, or maybe they just I don't really know, they're thinking about it. It will send an email and say, hey, we noticed that, Klaviyo is great because you can actually get the product that they're looking at. So we noticed that you were looking at this, like, don't forget. And then you can also set up a flow, which can then maybe a day later say, hey, look, like, we really want you to enjoy this experience. Here's 10% off, whatever that looks like to you. Referral programs, again, Shopify has apps for this. You can set them up. If your customers keep coming back, you know, maybe you want to reward them. Maybe you want to say, hey, we appreciate that you are loyal, and here you go. Here's some money. Here's some, you know, points. Here's a discount, whatever that looks like. And then this is another one too, suggesting similar products for us. House and home, we might, you know, if you're looking at shelving, you might want a candle to put on those shelves. There's a lot of opportunities, especially if you're working with Shopify, which is what we use, and Klaviyo. There's a lot of apps and opportunities. So playing around with those tools, always awesome. And that is just on time. I've got 1 minute to go. That's the presentation. And some of the things, I didn't mention some of the learning experiences, but I'd say the biggest takeaway that we had over the past year is we had an in-store. We had a store, and then we navigated online, and we tried to duplicate the in-store experience online, which just doesn't work. You really got to understand how people are navigating online versus in-store. They are two totally separate things. And understanding that is going to be like key to making sure your e-commerce platform works. And then the second thing that I learned over the past year or so is that if you set up these processes early, you'll have more success, because I'm still setting up processes like retention tactics and these things where we just launched our Google Ads. Like, it's taking us about a year to get to this point where we're like, okay, we're ready. But I know that if we had just set these up right off the bat, we probably would have had more success to start. So that's that. You can get in touch with us. I don't know. I mean, we have an open membership. So if you want to learn more, we have a membership page on our website, and you can email us, contact@thegirlgang.ca. The website is thegirlgang.ca. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and come back here. And I don't see any questions, but if you guys do have questions, I think I'm the last presenter, so I might have a couple minutes to answer. And if not, then I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thanks, Lena. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you guys have any information, just shoot us an email. We would love to answer. Bye, guys.